this corner, Solomon Grundy from the DC Multiverse Arkham City Build-A-Wave. And in this corner, Solomon Grundy from Spin Master? Really? No, this isn't an April Fool's joke. I am dead serious. In fact, I believe these two figures are really the exact same scale. Place your bets and stick around to find out how. Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation, where I review action figures and then articulate 5 points to help you decide if you want to add that figure to your collection. The 5 points I discuss are packaging, presentation, posability, playability, and price. I'm Jason, and if you enjoy my content, please like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube rigmarole. Starting off with the packaging, and the Spin Master figures come in a colorful blister card. Batman peeking up here, name and logo down here. Notice the first edition holographic sticker, which is a nice feature for collectors. And over here we see he comes with 3 mystery accessories. The back is fairly clean and simple, all the figures in the wave here. And over here is a perforation so you can punch out those surprises. The DC Multiverse Solomon doesn't exactly have a box of his own. Instead, his pieces were spread across the wave. Even so, it was his picture on the back of every box, so it does kind of feel like there were more about him anyway. To be honest though, I kind of prefer this one. It's clean, simple, and colorful. The surprise accessory feature is great for kids, but it's clear that they have collectors in mind. I also prefer how much more plainly they display the other figures in the wave. For packaging, this round goes to Spin Master. Moving on to presentation, and Arkham City stands at a whopping 8 inches. Spin Master stands at 4. It's at this point that I feel the need to remind you that no, this is not a prank. We obviously know which figure is going to win the round, but the journey is still important. The Spin Master figure is very cartoonish and over-exaggerated. Seriously, he looks like he could be a Scolari brother from Ghostbusters 2. Still, a lot of basic elements from the comic are there. He's wearing a tattered gray suit with a purple shirt. His skin has a corpse-like pallor with white hair. They even went in and gave him some staples like the Arkham City version. Flipping him around to look at the Solomon Grundy butt, we can see there's actually some texture in the pants. That's a detail they could have omitted and no one would have missed. One shortcoming is the lack of paint detail up here, but that's just to prevent shipping. By contrast, the McFarlane figure is highly detailed. There's a great amount of sculpted and painted detail in his craggy face. I'm particularly impressed with the job they did on his mouth, and the eyes are genuinely creepy. This Grundy's pants are also textured, but so's his jacket. There's also a bit of nice weathering in there. Not just the jacket, but also his skin. Similar to Spin Master, he has some staples throughout. One of my favorite details were the bundles of chains around his wrists. Thanks to the sculpted and painted detail, there's a great sense of layering and rust. As a children's toy based more on the comic, this figure has a lot of charm, but for presentation, this round obviously goes to McFarlane. Moving on to posability, and I think we all know this guy's a shoo-in. Joking aside, I'm not entirely sure what kind of head the Spin Master figure has. There's a bit of jiggle, but it can't exactly pose up and down. Obviously side to side is no problem. It could either be a ball joint or a disc swivel, but either way it serves the same function. Moving on down, he has swivel hinge shoulders that raise up 90 degrees, and swivel hinge elbows. Nothing in the wrist, nothing in the waist, but below the waist he has ball jointed hips. They can kick up nearly 90 degrees, and in spite of his bulk, do a perfect split. The Spin Master Solomon has thigh cut, but alas, no other leg articulation. In my admittedly limited experience with Spin Master figures, they do usually at least have knee articulation. I'm assuming that this is a budgetary sacrifice they made to be able to accommodate a larger character at the same price point. As it happens, even the DC Multiverse figure doesn't have as many joints as usual. From the top though, and his head's in a dumbbell joint. Between the shape of his head, the slope of his shoulders, and the collar on his jacket, he can't really look up, and he can only look this far down. You can tilt his head, but it's really more of a wobble, but he can look side to side. Moving down, the McFarlane can also lift his arm 90 degrees. No rotator cuff or bicep swivel this time around, but he does have single-jointed swivel elbows. Those kind of make up for the lack of bicep. As is often the case with larger characters, instead of wrist balls, McFarlane's given Solomon swivel hinge wrists. A bit impeded by the chain, they can only hinge up this high and bend that far down. Shifting to the torso, and there's no diaphragm joint this time around. Instead, all of his torso articulation is accomplished with the dumbbell waist. Using that waist, you can arch back this far, which admittedly isn't much, but you can hunch forward this far, which honestly might be better than they usually get with the diaphragm cut. Naturally, he can also tilt and and twist. Below the rope belt and Grundy has McFarlane hips. His can only kick a little bit under 45 degrees, and while not nearly a perfect split, it is still pretty impressive. One thing that's very impressive is the amount of twist that he gets in his hip, traversing down the pant leg, and he has single jointed knees. They don't swivel exactly, but there is a slight amount of twist in them. This is likely to make up for the lack of ankle ball. Instead, his ankles can merely hinge and pivot. But of course, he does get toeticulation for his very grimy toes. By the standards of their respective lines, neither of these figures are all that articulated, but for a lumbering zombie character, that's not the worst thing in the world. I think it's interesting that Spin Master prioritized thigh cut over knee articulation, and while I would only give this Solomon Grundy half a point if I was reviewing him solo, for posability, this round goes to McFarlane. Before we continue, if you like this video, do me a favor and give it a like. Your likes help more people to see my videos, which allows me to do sillier, outside-the-box stuff like this. Moving on to playability, and I figured we could discover the surprise accessories together. And here we go. Spider-Man webbing? No, we have a rock with a pipe. He also comes with 2 clip-on shackles with chains weighed down by rocks. If anything, that reminds me even more of Arkham City. As is often the case with Build-A-Figures, that Arkham City Solomon doesn't come with anything. Not even a trading card or a figure stand. But playability is more than just accessories, it's also about how well your figure plays with others. Starting with the Arkham City wave, and here we have Batman, Catwoman, the Penguin, and Ra's al Ghul. But for a few other Arkham City figures, and here we have the new DC Multiverse Riddler, as well as the Mattel Two-Face, and the Mattel Harley Quinn. It's about this point that you might be realizing the problem. In the game, Solomon Grundy is so big he's practically a kaiju. How small will I have to go to find a Batman that scales with this Solomon Grundy? As DC Multiverse figures go, Rebirth is pretty short, but it's still way too big for the Arkham City Solomon Grundy. The Mattel Arkham City Batman is nominally smaller, but not enough to count. Icons is shorter, but even that comes nowhere close to the size disparity between the two. Shrinking all the way down to Superpowers, and that's a lot closer. But for the smallest Batman in my collection, and here we have Pocket Heroes by Mego. And that's when it hit me. Spin Master. Putting these two side by side, you might think that Solomon is too small, but he's not exactly a giant in the comics, meaning that if you wanted to fudge this one into your comic display until we get a proper one, you absolutely could. Fortunately, not only is Spin Master not the only company to make a small-scale Batman, there is one out there who made a small-scale Batman designed for Arkham City. The 3 3/4-inch DC Comics Multiverse Arkham City Batman by Mattel. Putting the Mattel Arkham City Batman with Solomon Grundy, and finally we have the right scale. Not only does this give your Solomon Grundy someone to play with, but it also proves my opening thesis statement that these two figures scale together. Unfortunately, you can't use your Spin Master Solomon Grundy with anything bigger than a Spin Master figure. For a comparison I think some of you might be interested in, here's Solomon Grundy with the Incredible Hulk. For all you customizers out there, I'm just going to leave this here, along with a reminder that a new Grey Hulk figure is coming out. And for anyone out there who wants to know what Grundy looks like without his coat, here you go. For a relative scale comparison, here's both figures with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man. And as always, here they are with Stealth Iron Man. As cool as it is to find an Arkham City Batman that scales with this Solomon Grundy, it doesn't change the fact that he hasn't come with anything on his own. And it mostly serves as a bitter reminder of just how few figures there are to have him play with an array of accessories and other appropriately scaled figures in the line. For playability, this round goes to Spin Master. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. The Spin Master Solomon is a single carded figure that'll set you back about $7. Arkham City is a Build-A-Figure, which means you have to buy 4 $25 figures to assemble him. As long as you want all 4, that technically makes them only $20, but it's $20 for a figure that's hilariously out of scale with the rest of the wave. So for price, I'm giving it to Spin Master, who wins the battle 3-2. Agree? Disagree? Let me know in the comments, and happy April Fool's Day. If you like this video, check out one of these. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.